Welcome to the Indie Horror Junkie podcast. Tonight, you will be joining Rotting Ricky and Asylum Amy as they play host to some of the true movers and shakers in the indie horror scene. So lock your doors, check under the bed, and get comfortable, because here we go.
And I'm Sylvia Saska, and we're the Saska Sisters, and this is Indie Horror Junkies! Indie Horror Junkies! Indie Horror Junkies!
What's up, junkies? Good evening, Rotting Ricky D. How's it going? We are episode 82, you guys. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
We have a special guest tonight, producer Phil Garrett. He is also of Good Deed Entertainment, Cranked Up Films, and Cranked Up TV. We're going to get to him shortly, but first we have some indie horror junkie news. What's up, Jeff? Submissions are open, you guys, for both the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival at MegaCon Orlando next March 2025 and also ScareCon. There you go, right there for MegaCon. And this year it was in February, but next year it's going to be in March. So we're excited for that. Submissions open for ScareCon Film Festival in Syracuse, New York. Those dates are going to be September 5th through the 7th. So we are excited to be presenting for ScareCon, their film festival. We already have a ton of submissions that we need to get to watching. We're super excited about this entire convention, the film fest. There's a lot of hype and good energy behind it. They've already started announcing some of their guests, and they're just getting started. We have Felissa Rose, you guys. Who does not love Felissa? Dave Sheridan. No one loved this guy. Daniel Roebuck. Again, Kane Hodder. And of course, we've got Phil Falcone. We love these guys. So definitely come check us out. We're going to be there, Rick and I. Some of the other junkies might join us. Head over to scarecon.com and get your tickets, book your hotel. Everything is booking up quick. Issue number 17. Look at me jumping ahead. Number 15. Rick's going to kill me. We're working on 3 magazines ahead at the time, so excuse my brain. But issue number 15 is now available. This is our 2-year indie-versary. So, you're stuck staring at Rick and I. This is what we do. That's all of our cool collaborations that we've done over the past 2 years. Lou Russo was awesome enough to collaborate with us and create that cover for the magazine. And just there was Amy Schumacher-LaMorte from Screamboat, producer, lead actress. They just had a great run in theaters, you guys. They got an extended release. Hi, Lewis. And Lewis is also in the magazine, so make sure you check that out. Great supporter of independent horror, just a really cool all-around guy. We love him. We wanted to, kind of show off what he's all about. But definitely head over to Screamboat. Speaking of them, on their socials, they've been making some big announcements. They're going to be coming out with some media now that they are out of theaters, but they had a really great run. So we're super excited for them. And thank you for everyone who came up and showed out in the theaters for independent horror. New Jersey Horror Con, that's coming up. And that's going to be May. And what are the dates? The 17th and 18th. So I'm going to be there representing Indie Horror Junkie, our films, The Clock, The End, The Boy from Below, The Turning. We're going to have magazines. We're going to have posters. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of familiar faces there for sure. We've got the cast and crew from Stream. Felissa Rose is going to be there. So it's going to be a party. So if you guys are in the area or just feel like hopping on a plane and coming to hang out, definitely come join the fun. That's going to be at Showboat in New Jersey and Atlantic City. And we also, speaking of The Clock, have that available on both streaming platforms and on Blu-ray. Tarot Cards also just featured some of the cast. So if you haven't downloaded Tarot Cards yet, that's a really fun app. It's a fun way just to collect different trading cards from different horror films. There you go. You got myself, DeAndre, but just a fun horror film that, you know, I did with Rick Danford, you guys. And now it's finally out there for everybody to watch and enjoy. So definitely check it out. But enough about the news. Let's talk about Phil Garrett. We are going to show his trailer, the intro for Cranked Up TV, and then we're going to bring him out and talk all things cranked up and filmmaking and indie horror.
All right, and here you go.
It's a fun intro. Welcome, Phil. How are you? Thank you for joining the Junkies tonight.
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So producer, head of productions and development for Good Deed Entertainment and Cranked Up Films. And also you're the VP of Cranked Up TV. So let's talk about Cranked Up Films and who you are as a distribution company. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah. So Cranked Up Films is focused on genre as we all know it. Horror, sci-fi, action, thrillers, some very grown-up R-rated comedies, all in the sort of the collection of films that Cranked Up has been distributing over the past, I believe it's 7 years. It's a real mix. It was started in California. The parent company is Good Deed Entertainment, and that's our mainstream label or brand. So that's dramas, comedies, family movies, a lot of documentaries, some animated films, and that company was started in 2011 or 12, I believe, in Los Angeles, and eventually the company moved back here to our founder's hometown of Ashland, Ohio. And when it comes to distribution on both Cranked Up and Good Deed, we do when films come aboard, we can do any variation of distribution depending on the film, depending on a lot of factors in the market and so on. But it includes theatrical, transactional or TVOD, subscription or SVOD, and ad-based platforms as well. When we talk about the wider distribution of Cranked Up Films, in addition to Cranked Up TV, which is our new endeavor. Yeah. Yeah. And we're looking, yeah. And we're looking for, it's all independent films. So we're looking for all of those genre films for Cranked Up films. And most recently, it's been mostly horror, but, we're open to others.
What is it that you're looking for when you're acquiring new films? Like what tends to be the criteria specifically for Cranked Up?
Well, a lot of what I would say about that, or I will say about that, and what other distributors might say about that will sound cliche, but it's authentic in that you're looking for films that are strong films that have strong story, strong acting, refined or not refined, but an aesthetic that works with this story. It's the best way to tell this story. And again, it may sound cliche if the formula for genre is convention, what we're expecting to see and want to see, and invention, what are we bringing that's new, or how are we attacking this material from a new angle or doing something different. That's what we look for. And again, it may sound cliche, but we don't distribute everything that comes to us. We try to put the best films that we acquire or can acquire out there. But it comes down to, there are other factors as well, like I would say, and this is my personal philosophy kind of across all of what we do, is finding good people to work with. And I think we all know what that means. And so I would say that's sort of like integrated into all of these processes. But when it comes to films, and it could be a film that's a micro budget film, or it could be something that costs, that was a much bigger budget, close to, we could say 500,000, million and on up. We're open to all films and filmmakers. Yeah.
Well, because you're married to them for over a span of a contract, so you want to be able to long and communicate and play nice or be on the same page. It makes everything so much easier. It makes everything more enjoyable on both sides for you and for the filmmaker.
Sure.
If this is for independent filmmakers, what do you think, what should they know in a climate that's just ever changing when it comes to distribution?
Great question.
It's a great question. It's the answer could take us hours, but
Have an hour.
I would say,
And we do have a lot of filmmakers and writers and directors watching the shows. So that's why we kind of bring these topics up, because
sure.
This is what we're here for. So get into it, please.
Well, I mean, it's been a challenging time in film and ever changing for years now. Between, kind of the implosion of cable, between people cutting forward. Sorry, apologies. Something's going outside my house. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Distraction. Everything that's happened with cable, with the streamer wars, with all of these things happening, and now on that front, so many services going to becoming ad-based services, as well as, let's face it, the advent of technology has democratized the creation process. So it's easy to say anyone can make a film, and that's true. Anyone can make a film, right? If you have your phone, or if you have access to technology, it's all much easier now. It's much cheaper now. So because of that, you're competing with so many more films in this market than you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, for sure. It can feel daunting, but if you made a great film and you're really behind that film and you believe in it, then we know that it can happen. You know that you can, for example, get distribution. You know that you can get good feedback, that you can get the film into festivals. It's sort of this education gap. I hate to say education, but it's like this learning gap of like, how do you do those things, right? And how do we do those things? And I was a film professor for about 15 years, and that was the kind of topic that was rarely discussed in any experience that I had, unless it was something as an active professional that I brought into the classroom. So all I'm saying is, whether you've been to film school or you're self-taught or whatever the case may be, there's a huge amount of learning that has to be done. Following all sorts of publications, reading as much as you can from people online with experience. They have experience. They've been through bumpy roads. They've been through every ringer there is, and you can learn from their experience. I have this conversation with younger folks who I work with and interact with, is that please use us, learn from what mistakes we've made, learn from what we've learned. It's just there are all sorts of YouTubers and there are all sorts of podcasters and so on, including yourselves. And I think we're all friends with Jay Horton, and his YouTube channel is amazing in terms of him talking about the hardcore business side of what we do. So I would say educate yourself as much as possible, understanding that the market is tough. 1 in 10 films will make it. That's kind of an average. And really think about why you're in this. I think humility goes a long way.
Yep.
Humility goes a long way. In understanding the market, be realistic about what you can expect when you take your film to a distributor. So there's a lot of information that floats around out there. There are a lot of folks who sort of present themselves as experts. I would never, until I started working at Cranked Up 3 years ago and Good Deed, even as a producer, like what I have learned about distribution and acquisitions, about that whole process, and why it is the way it is, could fill a book. And before that, I knew enough to deliver a film, so it's just a tough market. Be realistic and educate yourself.
That's a big thing, and we push that a lot, like learning the business, whether you're a filmmaker, even an actor, learning a business as an actor, learning the business as a filmmaker, learning it as a producer. A lot of people make films and then they stop. Like they don't market, they don't push, they don't even put it in film festivals. They just want to go straight to distribution. And it's like you have to really take care of this product and give it attention and like not just be on to the next thing. And I feel
Agreed.
like what I see in the industry, it's the people who it's like their baby, and they're loving and nurturing this baby and step by step by step going through all these developmental phases to get it to the end. And it doesn't happen overnight. You see these films and they're in post-production, they're marketing, and you might not see them come out for 2 years later, but that's normal in this business and that's okay. And you got to be able to stomach that, because that is essentially what it is that you're going to be facing if you want to get the level of that 1 in 10 films of making it. You want to be that one film.
Agreed. I mean, recent examples of films we've distributed through the Cranked Up brand include Gothic Slayers, which is kind of like Caddyshack crossed with dark goth chick with giraffe magic, and I Possessed, which is sort of a contained thriller about possession. And in the case of Gothic Slayers, they've been marketing. They were doing screenings. They drove out to a drive-in screening this winter in Chicagoland, and then with I Possess, the lead in that, and the filmmaker, he's a stand-up comic. So he was scheduling his stand-up shows all around the country. He was scheduling screenings the night after. So he was able to like promote it before he got to town, try to like get people to go. Engaging in social media is obviously critical. I agree with you that there are filmmakers who, for a lot of different reasons, want to be finished. They want to hand it over. And that could be that they've been working on a film for 5 years to get it made, and they're sort of washed up on the shore of your desert island, and they just want to hand it over and be, and get it out. But you also see on the opposite end, you see filmmakers who really cultivate a community or a following before their film is even finished or even shot, in some cases with crowdfunding and depending on their pedigree and their background. And if they already have people who they already have successful films, and when I say successful, I don't necessarily mean they've made millions of dollars. I just mean that they people know about their film. It's out there. They've got some street cred because they have done the work. They put in the work.
Would you say that a social media presence and a presence that you see these filmmakers actively pushing the film, would that be something that you consider and part of your criteria for acquiring a film? Because I know that you guys are going to be, doing some of the marketing, I would assume, but you would also want the filmmaker to continue the marketing on their end, right? So is that a criteria that you look for when you're looking at films?
Yes.
Or not necessarily?
No, we do. I mean, we certainly do. If a film or a filmmaker or filmmaking team, whatever you want to call it, if they already have a presence, that's great, because we know that they've probably been talking about this film, and just aside from however many followers they have or whatever, that they understand the importance of it. We look at every film and the filmmakers who come aboard with Good Deed and Cranked Up. We look at this as it really is a partnership and a collaboration on getting the film to release, because of if you've made films, so you understand that the deliverable process can be a little daunting, and it's a lot to learn.
So they're all checked.
It's checking boxes, it's legal review, it's errors and omissions insurance, it's all sorts of things that are a reality to the business. And I think that a lot of filmmakers don't know about it until it's time. And I think in some cases, there's a lot of false information that floats around on the internet, because there's a difference between a company that is a distributor, a company that is an aggregator, a sales agent. These are all different things. They're very different. They may look similar on the surface, but they're not. So, but getting back to your social media question, yes, it is great to see that it helps us understand that they understand what's going on.
Sure.
And if they've got actors who have followings, They don't have to be like superstars, but that they have the ability to engage the actors, to engage the other crew members, to like help with that that form of marketing. We do expect or hope that, you know, the filmmakers will continue to with marketing efforts as well, because you have to work together. Like, you know, whether you're doing ad buys or boosting social posts or whatever, all of that is fantastic. But the filmmakers who succeed, who thrive, are the ones who are continually treating their film like an evergreen thing. To be crassly commercial about it, it is a product. Like all these products on the shelf here behind me, all these discs, right? Like, you can bet your butt that Universal, right, treats every film in their library as a product, right? Or as a thing that can live forever. And that's what films are. They could be marketed for years, or brought back. And so I think it's something we do look for. And if it's not a strong presence, it's okay. I mean, if you have a great film, or you have a film that's really entertaining, that has an audience, that's something we can work together on. We've done that too. We've created social presence for filmmakers, for their films, and so on. Yeah.
Just staying relevant, because like what you said, everything is so much more diluted right now compared to 5 years ago and 10 years ago. You have to do what you got to do to stand out. So utilize social media. I was just telling someone today that like social media for me is like the new LinkedIn. You know, like everybody that, you know, for my Instagram for like just, you know, my acting and filmmaking and specific to Indie Horror Junkie, it's everyone that I've met at, you know, film festivals or conventions or on the podcast or through the magazine. I met somebody at a film fest, you know, 2 years ago at Spooky Empire, and they had a short film that won the best short film. And I just saw that they just completed the feature film and got names attached to it. And here we are 3 years later. And I was so excited to see that. And if I wasn't on socials and using socials for my own business and for Indie Horror Junkie and connecting with everybody, I wouldn't have been able to reach out to get them in the magazine and on the podcast to, you know, showcase what they've been doing from short film to feature film. And that's a story that we all need to hear, because that is also a big part of the process too, the proof of concept to feature, and then seeing where they go after this and their whole, you know, film fest journey and distribution search. And but that just goes to show the power of social media. Rick knows this. I have a very love-hate relationship with it. I'll be like, Rick, I can't do one more. I got to take a day off from social media, you know, because it's consuming, but it's how you stay connected, and it's easy access. You see that figure, boom, message them. Hey, let me grab your email, shoot some stuff over. It's just, it's that constant contact, you know?
Well, and it's, I mean, I do a lot of stuff for social media. It isn't really part of my job. I love creating the content that goes on social media, and that's kind of the creator nerd in me, the old editor, and using Photoshop and all these different things.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun. But we've had some really great surprises of late. We were at Days of the Dead Chicago. We met Colby Does Horror. He did a very honest review of Replicator, and we talked, and he signed up for a year of Cranked Up TV, and he went and he found the August Underground trilogy, which we're not afraid to have controversial stuff on the site, because there's a place for all horror. So he did a piece on that, and he has 80,000 followers that he grew very, very quickly, and suddenly we had this burst of activity of people signing up, of people watching those films, of people watching other films, of us hearing from him and others. Hey, you have all these films on here. They're all independent stuff I've never even heard of before. You know, so long story short, it starts there. We met Ian Van Gool. We've met a lot of great people through in person and through social who are discovering us sort of organically, you know.
And the whole ripple effect. And you want organic followers. I cannot stand these like pay for follower, you know, present. I don't get it. It's like, well, what is the point if you're not reaching a real audience? Like, don't you want people to organically know who you want them to understand who you are and be a part of your culture, and you know, want to be in the community and watch the podcast and buy the magazines and see the films and connect and come, you know, the film fest, the whole thing. So yeah, organic is a key word for me, because I don't get the whole like pay to play when it comes to followers. It's weird.
No, and attached to that is the changing times and what the appetites are of the audience that we're talking about. And I don't mean their appetites for what kinds of films and all of that. What I mean is, we were recently all sharing this article where it talked about what we used to, about sales funnels, about how you funnel people to your product or funnel people to your service, and that we're living in an age where this target market of, late teens through 20s, and even up from there, people want to discover things. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have it shoved down their throat. That traditional advertising certainly still works for some demographics, but that people love the process of finding stuff. And so, or seeing something that surprises them. Kind of like, it's not like you're on a treasure hunt every day, but kind of are. I see things all the time. My saved folders on Instagram are full of hundreds or thousands of things that I know I'll never go back to because
the
of
only
ADHD,
one.
right? Yeah. So I'm saving these things, or I'm finding things. Yeah. And it helps us too to find filmmakers. We find filmmakers who they're not even ready to do a feature or anything, but I follow them because the work they're doing kicks ass, and I want to know what they're doing. So, anyway.
The power of social media. It's endless. It's a windy road, and there's pros and cons, but we obviously try to use the cons to our advantage in this industry. But for independent filmmaking, I feel like you got to utilize it.
It's a free platform. It's a free platform to push your stuff. All of my social feeds, most of my content has become all about what I do. And I post personal stuff, whether it's kids doing things and stuff like that, but almost all of it has become just about marketing.
Well, this is what you do. So, let's talk about the development and production side of what it is that you do. What are what kinds of scripts and projects are you generally looking for when you go down that road?
So there's two ways to think about this. There is the creative side, and then the practical application / business side of things. So creatively, we're looking for all the things that traditionally one would look for. Okay, you're looking for, some of us are a bit more formalists than others when it comes to things like structure. Who am I with in this journey? Is this a protagonist? Is this a multi-protagonist movie? But in terms of creativity, again, it's those scripts you can't stop reading, right? Mm-hmm. We have a filmmaker. Well, I think a lot of these films we've made ourselves here in Ohio. You're working with writers who are bringing together, again, the convention, the stuff that we expect. If you're watching a horror film and it's a slasher, it's going to have certain aspects, certain elements to it. If it's a ghost story, it's going to have certain elements, or a sci-fi, goopy 80s style sci-fi horror movie. It's going to have those elements, but what are they doing that's different? What are they trying to do that's different? And so, you're taking a risk with any film that you're making, because you're making on speculation unless you have some kind of output deal or you've pre-sold or whatever. Yeah. But it's got to be strong story. It all starts with story. That's it. And that's all the way up the chain. Our founder, our CEO, Scott Donnelly, he reads the scripts too. It's all part of the green light process. But it's just tried and true screenwriting, tried and true embracing the fundamentals. And then it's clear when you're reading a script that someone has read a book like Save the Cat and they're just plugging things in. Like, I have filled out these 12 things and therefore my script is good. And that doesn't really work. Or if it's following Sid Mead or Robert McKee or whatever, if you're just formulaically putting things in there, if your script doesn't have structure or suffers or has weak structure, or if your film, and that doesn't mean you can't have something that's experimental, because if the script knocks you out, it's going to knock you out. But structure, strongly developed characters, texture on the page that allows me to really see and feel this story world, the version of it I see in the movie screen in my head when I'm reading. Mm-hmm. But it's enough on the page for that, but it's also not so detailed that it takes me 2-3 minutes to read a page, right? A script should really read about a minute a page. But again, it all comes down to fundamentals and the embracing of the fundamentals. And it's surprising how many scripts that I've seen over the years or scripts that we receive that are lacking that, or have some of it, but the dialogue is really, look up Robert McKee's 10 faults of faulty dialogue, and you'll see like all the things that we see. So when it comes to scripts, that's what it is right now. We've been looking for horror that in there isn't a specific subgenre, right? If it's something is a supernatural horror movie, that's fine. If it's a creature movie, that's fine, but I'll come back to that. If it's I think the last two films we've made are probably the biggest in scope and scale. They certainly are the biggest in scope and scale that we've done, and we know that we can't do that every time. So how that transitions over into the practicality of it. We have certain budget ranges in mind that we want to achieve, that we want to shoot for, and we just read something that was a mashup of two much beloved genres, and it's really good. It's also a $10 million movie. So it has to be achievable on a micro budget. So here we're talking movies that could be made for under 100,000, under 125, under 150, with filmmakers who are really committed to putting in the time and the work necessary to do that, to make their films. So anyway, they have to be achievable on a budget. So creature movie, yes, and has to be achievable, right? Or we go to someone like our go-to makeup effects artist, Dave Greathouse, and we say, hey, can you do this? And how much will it cost to do this?
Yeah.
And we always do this with effects breakdowns, right? So you have like the 5, 10, 15 moments in the film. Give us 3 different ways it can be achieved and the price for each one of those ways of achieving it. But it has to be doable.
Outside of the script and outside of the budget, what else are you looking for filmmakers that help you make the decision? Like, yes, I want to collaborate with these people. Like, if you're between 2 scripts that are doable within, $150,000, what's going to make or break that decision for you outside of just the script?
You can either sense or get from them their level of commitment. Like, this is not easy work. It's challenging work. Can you assess from your time and talking with them that they're in it for the long haul? They're in it for the hard work. And, we could say there's no whining. There's no crying in baseball. There's, it's like, are you down to make independent films? Are your friends or the crew that you know that you can put together, are they down for this? Because it's hard work. Do you mesh? Do your personalities mesh? Right.
Because you're married to them, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the biggest killer of things before the process even kicks off or later down the line is ego.
Yeah. I'll make you butt heads.
Right. And authenticity is huge for me personally, and I think it is for all of us at the company, that you can tell when someone's inauthentic, and ego will just kill things. There's a difference between confidence and ego, and I don't want to get on a soapbox as a human being, but there is a difference.
Okay. Rick and I talk about this subject all the time.
And even if you've achieved great things, that doesn't mean that that being egotistical about it is makes you somebody people want to talk to, let alone work with. So again, for me personally, when the red flags go up, you gotta take your time and really assess the situation, so in terms of the filmmakers themselves, it's commitment, being down to do the hard work necessary to make the film, get it through post and get it to delivery, and then get it, promote it. And then are they people you feel like you can work with?
And trust.
Because you're right. Yeah. Because this intense collaboration for a period of 6 months to 2 years to get a film finished. And then it's the life of the film.
Yeah,
So,
it's like when Rick and I go through the process of like creating our cast and creating our crew and who we love working with, and always tend to go back to work with again because we trust them to show up and do their job. We know they're going to
mhm,
collaborate and do the pre-production process with us so that we can, have our ducks
mhm,
in a row when we get on set, and who's going to be there to, army and rally behind us when we're in post-production and we need to get all these other tasks done. And like you're married in this for so long, and there's just that constant communication. And if it's not people that you can pick up the phone and they're gonna, or email, they're gonna respond to you within 24 hours, it becomes a problem and things get delayed. And then
mhm.
it just becomes something that it shouldn't. Everybody should just
Yeah.
be reliable and focus and get the job
Well,
done, because there's a lot to do. So all that makes sense to me.
well, not to sound like a bore, but who are you going to be? Who are you going to want to be in the shit with? You know,
Yeah.
you know, because it's challenging work.
That's a good way to put it.
I had a colleague once say, "It ain't for wimps. Filmmaking ain't for wimps." And
Not for the faint of heart.
yeah, that's a nice way to say it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this level, when it is indie and we are working on these micro budgets and low budget films, like you gotta be committed to the hustle. You have to be working harder than everybody around you. Going back to what you said in the beginning, 1 out of 10 films, where people are cranking out 10 films, every time you turn around and you're on circles and there are all these other new films. And with Rick and I, we see these films coming into the film festival. We know what's out there. We know what's circulating, but what separates, the good from the bad. And, just.
Well, yeah, and even the big studios don't get it right. For every, Sinners will pay. You know how many movies will be paid to be made because of Sinners, and how many movies will just not achieve at the box office, but a movie like Sinners will. And it's the same. It's the same. It all scales. It scales to independent films as well.
But there was also a big article about Sinners. Did you read that? About how the deal that Coogler made could change or could bring down the studios, because basically after 25 years, all the rights go back to him. That's like unheard of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that they're finding that. I mean, it seems like they're finding that they have to change as well if they want to have a creative powerhouse like him. And I'm sure the teams that he can bring together, he's obviously proven that he's a really great, filmmaker and storyteller, and they're investing in him. And I think that they're probably hoping that he does all of his films. It's like Christopher Nolan had a home for a while with was it Warner's, and then he switched. But anyway, yeah. I mean, so they're all having to figure out new business models as well. I mean, we see it most prominently in on the theatrical side, with them focusing so much on IP, sequels, adaptations, all that kind of stuff that they know there's a built-in audience for. But we also see it on the streaming side with all of the services that are ad-based, right? It's television all over again. It's the thing we all thought we escaped from when all these streamers built their services and were providing all this amazing content, but now it's ad-based again. And so that's something that people have differing levels of tolerance for. But
which Cranked Up TV is not, by the way. So let's make sure that like that Cranked Up TV is ad-free subscription service. And let's tell people about the subscription, because that's we want to promote that tonight. So
sure,
what does a subscription look like? What are they paying for? You guys are adding new titles all the time. Film streaming exclusively on Cranked Up TV. You have original films. Let's just kind of talk more about that and let everybody know what you're about.
Sure. So Cranked Up TV is the brainchild of Scott Donnelly, our founder. And it's sort of a reaction to a lot of things. It's a reaction to, on a business side, what streamers are providing to help the bottom line of filmmakers and other people involved in the process, like distributors and everybody involved in the whole pipeline of film distribution and exhibition. What they're offering now is like you hear the nightmare stories of Spotify and what artists make from Spotify, and it's the same for film now. Quite honestly, we received notification from a large company who shall not be named, but their name might start with an A, that now the rate on their ad-based services is 1 penny an hour. 1 penny an hour. So if someone watches 1 million hours of the films that you have on this service, all those films combined for that 1 million hours get $10,000. So $10,000 is nothing to sneeze at if you just say, oh, I just got a check for $10,000. But 1 million hours. So that's 1 million hours that somebody on another service or a subscription service will not be paying to watch. Right. And so you're basically giving away almost for free at that point.
Yeah.
So that is a thing that is a reality. Then on the other side of it, I think it's a reaction to the ad-based services in that we all at the company, we all hate ads. We hate them primarily because it interrupts the flow of your movie. Right. Yeah. And some services are very good about finding the right commercial break. Like I produce a podcast with a friend and I find like the end of one story in this episode, that's a good break point for a commercial. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. So long story short, when that's done well, it can be okay. But I still don't want to be in the middle of a movie. It's different if it's a TV show in some ways because I'm used to that. And also because TV shows, episodes are structured for commercial breaks. The structure is different. But I absolutely hate it, especially if I'm watching something new, right? And my family's decided we want to get the ad tier on Hulu. So I'm watching these shows and I'm like, oh, here comes an ad. Mute. Okay, down on my phone, right? Okay, coming back. So we hate the interruption. And then in terms of paying for a service, ours is $5.99 a month. Okay, or you can pay for a year for $49.99. So $5.99 a month is like getting a coffee at Starbucks, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I don't like ad-based services. Anyway, moving on from that. So
that's why you want to push it. $5.99 and there's no ads. I mean, I'm sold. I gotta download it tonight.
Yeah. So no ads. I mean, there are a lot of things that we want. The other side of this whole thing isn't just a reaction to the industry. It's also us creating something that we would want to see. It's a thing that we would want. That we've seen other streaming services do it. There are some that not everybody knows this yet, but there are some other ones that are adding ad tiers. It just hasn't been like widely announced yet, and it's coming at them very quickly. So, but the other side of it is creating a streaming service that does what it creates an experience that we would want to have. So it's all independent films. I think we all know what it's like to go to a service and then you dig and you dig and you dig down a rabbit hole for 90 minutes watching trailers, trying to find something to watch. Excuse me. So we want to organize it in a way that's easy to find things. It's a variety. It's all subgenres, and it's all varying styles and levels of filmmaking. So we have people that's, these are first-time films. We have a film right now that was just someone was talking about on social media, called it a most atrocious thing, and it's about a zombie deer who attacks. It's comedy, and I think that it's publicly known that it's like the budget was like $5,000 or $10,000. But that has a place because it's entertaining, right? We also have films that sort of feel very A24-like. They're kind of like much more psychological and very stylish and really aesthetically pleasing. And then we have a lot of stuff in the middle. We got monster movies, slashers, everything. And in terms of exclusives, certainly films that we distribute on Cranked Up films will have a window of time that they will be exclusive on Cranked Up TV. It's not forever, but it's a window of time. So while they're in the transactional phase of being available for sale or rent on all sorts of services, including ours, at a certain point in time, after that's run a bit of its course, it might become exclusive on Cranked Up TV. In addition to that, we've been making discoveries along the way. So we discovered a filmmaker named Chad Farron. Chad Farron's newest film, Ed Kemper, came out a couple weeks ago. We realized, and we had sub-licensed some titles because you're trying to create this library or this selection of films, and we're working with other companies, and we license films to them. They license films. We license films from them, And we have right now, I think 170 movies. And so it just turned out that in this group that we selected, and we curate from lists of hundreds of movies. And that's the other thing, curation, which we can come back to. But with this, we found that we had 4 of these films by Chad Farron that really pushed the envelope. Like he's really he's not afraid to go there in his movies. And I really admired that. And then we found out that, he had these other, he's got a very long filmography, right? So we wanted to get some more titles. And then we found, then they dropped Unspeakable Beyond the Wall of Sleep a couple of months ago on TVOD. And in the conversations with his distributor, Marco De Silvio, he and I, and Eric Donnelly, we worked to find new titles for the service. In his discussions with the distributor, like, well, this is not on SVOD anywhere. It's available to rent and to buy. And it's also, there are 2 versions. There's a censored version and an uncensored version. When I say censored, I don't mean they cut scenes. I mean, there's a black box that floats around your frame like this.
Come on.
To block the objectionable stuff so that it could go on Amazon and other platforms. You can buy the uncensored version on Apple and Google, I think. But on our service, we're the only streaming service in the world that has it. And so we're streaming the uncensored version along with 6 of Chad's other films. So we've created a category, the films of Chad Farron.
That's great.
And
do you guys do short films as well, or features only?
Not yet.
Okay.
We really wanted to focus on features first. Being a streaming service, a subscription streaming service that has short films presents challenges. And quite honestly, it comes down to things like insurance. Okay. It is far easier to insure a feature film than it is to get anyone to insure a short film. And there are all sorts of policies, and we really want to create the service first for horror fans who want to watch movies. And it's not that shorts aren't movies, but we want to focus on features.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Just kind of thought of it because, a lot of independent films start off as shorts. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. We licensed. Yeah. On our YouTube channel, we have a lot of shorts. We have a lot of shorts that we licensed over a span of time. So there are many on there.
And that's also Cranked Up TV on YouTube?
Cranked Up Films.
Cranked Up Films.
On YouTube. Yeah. So most of our socials right now are Cranked Up Films because, you have one social feed and then creating another one and they're going to interact with each other. So we're just sticking with Cranked Up Films for now. But yeah, we have shorts on there. And we're constantly looking for, whether it's, we have 35, 40 films and Cranked Up Films has released over time. Like I said, the past 6-7 years. But we also, that's in addition to that, we have other libraries that again include a lot of newer stuff and we have some classics. We have kind of a mix. But we're also starting to work with one-off directly with filmmakers. We have a film that I hope is going to be solidified very soon. That it would be our first that came directly from a filmmaker, and we're pretty excited about that. It's kind of a lycanthropy thing, but it's not a wolf that someone turns into. It's something much smaller. We're excited
to hear about it. So definitely keep us posted. We do have some stills that you sent over. I believe they're from Blood and Rust.
Yeah, so this would take us back to the original production side of things, talking about Blood and Rust. We have 2 films in post-production. One is called Wormtown, and that one is very close. We're done looking at proposed VFX finals, like as of today. And, we're hoping that gets into festivals. The same with Blood and Rust. It's dangerously close on its final edit. Again, those 2 films are sort of represent the pinnacle in terms of the scope and scale of what we've done. Blood and Rust was written by Wolf Stahl and Jeremy Herbert, 2 filmmakers I met at the Nightmares Film Festival in 2019. So shout out to Nightmares Film Festival, Jason Tosteman, Chris Hamill, and the team over there. And so worked with these 2 writers over a span of time trying to develop a project. Went down different directions and so on, but finally in June of last year, 5 years later, we finally made a movie, and that's Blood and Rust. And if you show
Yep.
stills, that's cool. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Diane Frankhauser. Frankhauser? Yeah, I believe she's a Cleveland-based actor. She's phenomenal. She plays Marlene, who is the love interest of Lamont. Lamont is there on the left in the trench coat and the yellow sweater. He's our protagonist. She is the off again, on again girlfriend of Lamont, played by Morgan McLeod. Next to him is Mark Kelly. Mark is a Hollywood actor. This was a SAG production. Mark's most recently on Monsters, the Ryan Murphy show Monsters. But he's been, doing independent and television and everything for 30 years. Mad Men, he came up, he's done some Duplass Brothers stuff and so on. So what you're seeing here is this was filmed in Norwalk, Ohio. The one day we had rain, and at 10 a.m. in the morning, the rain stopped, and that was our call time. And we ended up with these John Ford skies and these beautiful cornfields in the background, and just phenomenal production value in the Midwest.
Very cool.
And yeah, and so this is in the diner. Lamont owns the diner. And that on the left there is Bo Roberts playing the sheriff. And this is a movie set in a dying Rust Belt town that is literally and figuratively being sucked dry by the state of the world and vampires. This is a pivotal scene early in the film when things start to hit the fan. And again, this is same setting, but at night. Yeah. And there we go. In the film. Yeah. So this is kind of a sneak here for you guys to see, but this is the first vampire we really get a good look at in the movie. And this is actually played by Louis Kurtzman. And Louis is, I believe, the killer in that new movie Marshmallow. And Louis worked with us in a number of films. He's based here in Ohio. His father happens to be Robert Kurtzman, who is, the great makeup effects artist. And Louis is a trained actor, and he's just great. And he came in and did us a favor by playing Diner Dave, or Diner Dan, the Diner Vampire. And again, great makeup effects by.
I love them. They're not your typically placed vampire teeth. They're kind of.
Our vampires aren't pretty.
There's some are here, some are there.
Some are here, some are there, some are green, some are gone.
There you
go. There's our sheriff again. Bo Roberts, he's again an Ohio actor, a local guy, locally based guy. He's a ton of stage work. He's also a filmmaker, and he's been in he's just awesome. He looks like he could have walked out of a Warner Brothers a noir film right alongside Cagney back in the day, but he's a really talented person, actor and filmmaker. Yeah. Okay, so this is Ross Partridge. He is a vampire. He may look familiar if you're a Stranger Things fan. He was the deadbeat dad in season 1.
Yes.
Yeah, and he is also a director. He had a film premiere last year, and the name escapes me at the moment, but it premiered at Popcorn Frights. And his wife is an actress. She was a lead in his film, and he's just a really, really wonderful, wonderful actor. He came to us through Mark Kelly, who was cast in the film as Belko, the old wizened vampire hunter. And they've been friends for 25 plus years, and Ross had a little window in his schedule and came in, and he just kills it here as this character. Very cool. This is our friend Belko. You can study that photo later if you want, but he's got his vampire killing. What's that?
Somebody's on the ground.
Yeah.
Something might be on the ground, and he's got his vampire hunting accoutrement, weapons. What you also see in this shot is how we shot the film. Sammy Lahiri was our cinematographer. Marvin Watts was our gaffer. And they had an amazing team. We shot this on a red V-Raptor camera with Kowa anamorphic lenses, because this movie is in some ways not an homage so much, but a love letter to back when John Carpenter, Tom Holland, George Romero were making their best films. And so we wanted it to look like that. We wanted that that look of what happens when light comes in. And it's not like you're flaring the camera all the time, you're flaring the lens, but when it does happen, it's beautiful. And you get some of that curvature on the edges, and just like it looks like it's the movie stepped out of you. We never say when it's set. It's movie time. We don't know when this is set.
Okay.
And so it makes it kind of timeless.
When we shot the clock, we shot it with a black magic, and we also use those anamorphic lenses as well.
Isn't it great?
Oh yeah.
Here's our friend. Here's our friends. Fighting the good fight.
That's our last pictures from Blood and Rust. But I do have 4 pictures here from Cranked Up TV we can show real quick.
Oh, sure. Oh yeah, so that's what this. Nice. Yeah, that's what the site looks like when you go there. The very, familiar sort of interface. And when you're actually inside, you don't need to sign in to like browse. You can go to the now playing link, or you can search.
Very cool.
And how we categorize things, there's the films of Chad Farron, fan favorites. We kind of look at the statistics to see what people are watching, and kind of like keep that updated every week. Monsters and whatnot. And of course, you can see varying kinds of filmmaking. There's the most atrocious thing, Freshwater, which is an alligator movie with Zoe Bell. If you know Zoe Bell from Tarantino,
yes, I do.
Some Tarantino stuff.
Tarantino.
Yeah. Tenants, Navy SEALs versus Demons, because why not?
Navy SEALs versus Demons. There we go.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah, you can see there's just a whole array. And then you see a movie down there on the lower left under thrillers called Rift. It's an Icelandic picture, and it's a very, very intense psychological thriller. And then we do also have on there all of the Cranked Up films we've released, and that includes some action. So we have a category that's Cranked Up releases where it's something like horror and more. So there's some action in there, some science fiction, some really heady science fiction, and other things. So
we did have one more still from Blood and Rust that I saw here at the bottom that somehow snuck in.
Oh yeah, so it takes place in the town of Red Patch, Ohio. It was originally written to be shot in Pennsylvania in an old town with abandoned mines, but we moved it to our backyard, and we made up this town because, again, we're in movie land. We're not in the tried and true, daunting, the real world, so to speak.
That's beautiful. That's close to where you live.
Yeah, that's just a few miles down the road.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
How about it? Love it.
We get excited when we see stuff like that because we're in Florida, so
Well, yeah, it's the Midwest has a lot to offer, and when you watch a movie, even Florida, like we have a film After Midnight that was shot in Florida, it has a look to it. It's different.
Okay. There's a little bit of everything in Florida. I feel like you could almost make
really
any Florida, unless you're looking for a mountain or a hill or snow. Otherwise, you can drive one way or the other and find some type of aesthetic, from the beaches to, we do have country out here. We have beautiful country out here. Beautiful. Yeah. But,
But yeah, so Cranked Up TV, I would say check it out. There's a 7-day free trial. I think it's a very affordable service. Of course, I'm biased, but we are adding new stuff all the time. We just had emails flying around about, like, we got delivery today on 4 new movies that are all LGBTQ horror. We're looking at a collections of horror from Eastern European countries, from Korea, just different places like that to kind of keep the collection fresh and offering people things that they haven't discovered. And some, again, they might be a couple of years old, but they're new to me. They're new to you. So
you guys are breathing new life into these films, and it looks like a fantastic service. We'll have to check it out. Yes, they will definitely be checking out. They're huge fans and love watching films. The Kings, they're great. But no, what you guys are doing is just awesome for independent filmmakers of all genres, not just horror. And looks like an amazing streaming platform. Very informative show. Thank you, Bill. So
thanks, Joseph.
Yeah, just I love what you guys are doing and what you represent, and you're giving a voice to films new and old, and it's just a great way to keep filmmaking alive and keep movies alive and thriving. And we appreciate you for coming on and spending the hour with us, and this was great education on a lot of different levels. So we can find you. We have the YouTube channel, right, and short films on there. Cranked Up TV, and your socials you said were
They're all Cranked Up Films. Yeah.
Cranked Up Films.
So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I think we're on Reddit now. I'm not sure where else, but yeah.
All across the board. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was an awesome show. We love what you're doing. We're definitely I gotta get my subscription for Cranked Up Films. I'm not just saying that. I want to go over and watch some of them. So,
Yeah.
I want to check out that Blood and Rust. That looks really cool. So
yeah, that'll be out in probably October. Yeah, that's an October picture. Yeah.
That's perfect. It's spooky season, so I'm here for it. Well, hang tight backstage. We're gonna say goodbye, and then we're gonna give you a proper goodbye. But thank you again for coming on the show. You guys keep up with Phil on socials. Check out the platform, and we'll talk to you in just a second. Thank you again.
Thanks everyone.
Phil.
Right. Thank you.
Such a fun show. I'm excited
I
to
know.
check this out, and it's just a great service for independent filmmakers. What else can I say? So
Less than $50 for an entire year. You can't beat that.
yeah, I know. He said you spend that on a coffee. It's like when you put it like that, how can you say no? But it's not easy. It's easy to spend $50 on just about anything. So get yourself an ad-free service over here, everybody. But if you like what you see and heard, definitely check us out, like and subscribe us on YouTube, Indie Horror Junkie Podcast. We'll be back next week for episode number 84.
Yeah,
84. We're going to say
no, 83
next week. So I'm losing count as we're reaching 100. I don't know what we're going to do for 100. Pop a bottle of champagne. I'm not sure. But lots of great guests lined up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for supporting independent horror. Thank you for supporting the Junkies. And we will see you next week.
See ya.